at some point comes back to you. I think that for everyone we kill in bombing Iran, they have a brother or sister.
Killing all the right people, we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs.
2 hours ago from an insider, good friend, at this Sunday, they're being deployed, boots on the ground, going out this Sunday.
So, I know a lot of other internet influencers have been asking the questions of why are we jumping into another Middle Eastern war? And our answers are because the Israel lobby, the pro-Zionists in the media, and our retarded politicians are pushing it to happen because they want it to happen. The majority of America, however, disagrees with it. They don't want it to go down. So that horse has been beat to death, right? The next question, though, that we should be asking is, can we even achieve victory in the first place? So what are our goals, which are very murky right now, and are we able to accomplish them? So we're going to listen to the opinions of the people today who we should be listening to the most right now. And those are our military experts, our generals. Let's get some clarity from the people who have done it before in our recent past or have tried to do it before. Instead of listening to the warmongers, people who have never held a gun before in their life, who have financial incentive or ideological incentive to push this war forward. I'm Nolan. This is the Know Nothing Show. Let's get into it. So the first person we're going to listen to is General McChrystal. I do believe that he was the commander of the United States forces in Afghanistan in 2003. So basically, the bloodiest days of our Afghanistan war. This man knows what it's like to put ground troops in the Middle Eastern countries, and he'll speak about it. You'll hear him in a second. And he talks about learning firsthand the result of bombing people into submission and the kind of resentment and the kind of problems that creates on the ground when you're trying to interact with a population that you just assaulted, basically. It's important to note before I jump into the video that he's talking about Afghanistan. It's a country that is significantly smaller than Iran. Iran has 90 million some people, 92 million people in it, so a big concern of our president should be whether or not the Iranian people actually support his removal of the regime. Because if not, 90 people is a very sizable amount of people that if they were to form some sort of resistance against you and oppose your military operations in their country. A country that large could create a very big problem for troops on the ground. Just something to keep in mind. So let's get into the video.
Take Baghdad with relative ease. We could get rid of the existing government. But once we wanted to change the reality on the ground, who actually controlled things, how things worked, now you're not at 30,000 feet, you're at 6 feet. And you're the same height as your potential opponent. And I tell people about this war, if you like this war, enjoy this first part, because this is the best part. Because everything after this will be harder. You see the reality that all of the resentment you create through what you do now, at some point comes back to you. I think that for everyone we kill in bombing Iran, they have a brother, sister, father, mother, and they are unlikely to go, oh yeah, it's okay, you killed my father, but yeah, it was geopolitical necessity on your part. That's not the way we respond. And so sometimes it's necessary. I don't deny that some wars are just and required, but no wars that I'm familiar with are neat, clean, or produce the kind of outcome we actually want. They produce this messy thing that might be better than before the war, but it's not a lot better.
All right, so all of these are lessons that he learned from firsthand experience, from leading troops into combat. Those are lessons that he learned, and most definitely lessons that our soldiers learned through blood and tears. But why haven't our politicians learned the same lessons? Many of them are the same politicians who sent us into those wars to begin with, and now they're just doing it again. This time with a new batch of young kids. They have a whole new generation to do it to. They're high off of this bloodlust. You can tell people like Lindsey Graham get turned on to see American bombs blowing up buildings.
So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
Lindsey Graham bragged in his interview with Bill O'Reilly that he's been in political office for 30 years. He's learned nothing from that 30 years because he was never held accountable for his policies. None of these people were. They were rewarded. In fact, they were given special slots on Fox News or CNN, positions of high power in the government, in the Trump administration, matter of fact. They wrote books from which they made millions of dollars from, all the while never receiving any true accountability for what they put our country through in the early 2000s. No accountability for sending our young kids to die in a legal war. And so this next clip is pretty much an example of their attitude towards their past mistakes because there was zero accountability.
You need to put, your legions on the ground to secure the territory and give them confidence that they can do it, that we can open up the strait. Look, I know there's risk involved. There's always risk involved, but those kids, those young men and women, they understand the risk involved on taking both Karg and opening up the Strait of Hormuz.
He said he knows the risks, but he just doesn't care. Obviously, if you really were concerned about the risks, then we wouldn't be conducting this operation in the first place. Okay, so the next clip that we're going to look at is General Mattis. He was a renowned Marine Corps general. They called him Mad Dog Mattis. He led troops into Iraq and is one of the better generals to come out of that war. He was also Donald Trump's defense secretary for a brief period of time during his first administration before resigning, most likely because Trump's an idiot. But Trump claimed that he fired him, as you would expect. So let's see what he thinks about the Iran war.
Would you estimate the likelihood of the regime's falling?
I do not believe the regime will fall in the near future. Now, understand, war is fundamentally unpredictable. Fundamentally, that is part of war. So what I'm saying could be completely reversed in 24 hours, but I think it is very unlikely that that regime will fall anytime soon. I think we're going to have to deal with it.
Deal with it means us going in on the ground. We tried to deal with it from the air. The Trump administration underestimated the regime's resolve. The air campaign did not accomplish the job that they wanted it to. So now we have to go boots on the ground. It's obvious. And it's not really a huge surprise to people who knew what they were talking about. Anybody who knows anything about war and isn't in the business of just pushing propaganda for a government at war knows that to properly conduct a regime change operation, nation building operation, you have to be on the ground. So maybe, if I know that, then surely they did. So maybe they intended to put boots on the ground all along. And these past couple weeks was just a softening up of the Iranian military. Maybe they had hoped that public support for the war would change in some grand way. But regardless of their original plans that we will never know the truth of, it's very apparent what their next move is, and that's boots on the ground.
The war has not happened, although it's been defanged in terms of its proxies, in terms of its nuclear program has been set back, but the regime is still there. So basically, the war on a strategic level has not changed the overarching framing principle of what we have to deal with in that area. And we will have to deal with it. We can't walk away and say, sorry, we got distracted or we got tired of this. We're going to have to deal with whatever comes out of this current war. And I think it's going to include that regime still there that goes back to that fateful year, 1979.
Well, that about sums it up. Nobody is denying that we have destroyed a lot of Iranian military targets. We've most likely crippled the regime in a very big way. America is good at dropping bombs. We always have been. But as Mattis just said, the core regime is still in place. They're still there. And you have to contend with that reality. At this point, Trump can't just back up and bail out of this conflict and expect the Iranians to just let bygones be bygones and everything go back to the way it was a month ago. The consequences of this action will remain. Trade will be affected heavily from here on out. Our relationship with our Arab allies in the region will be damaged greatly for our lack of being able to shield them from the collateral damage of our actions. And these are all things that are going to affect us for the next 10 years to come. Not to mention, even if we pulled out now, Israel is not going to stop this war. They see this as an existential war. And at this point, The only way to fix all those consequences is to win on the ground and actually change the regime in a positive way. The only problem is the question of our ability to even do so. Iran is larger than any regime change war that we've conducted in the past 30 years. It's 3 times the size of Iraq, and we ended up giving up in Iraq. So what makes these people think that we have a better chance now of being successful than we are just 2 decades ago? Especially not with 80% of the country opposing the war from the very start. Guys, boots on the ground is very imminent. They've moved thousands of troops into the region in the past week. All the assets are in place, and they're all units that are equipped and trained to grab and hold land. That's what the Marine expeditionary units are meant to do. That's what the airborne is meant to do. They're going to send them in so they can get a foothold on the country, set up a foothold, maybe a forward operating base, so they can then bring more troops into the fight. And it's pretty obvious that this halt in targeting of the Iranian oil facilities that Trump said that he was doing out of good faith, maybe for peace talks, it's just to try to give our people time to put our assets in place to start a ground invasion. Do you think the Iranian military doesn't know that? So this 5D chess... It's just another example of 5D chess, guys. Donald Trump is just the smartest person in the world. Okay, so it's coming. The only question is, when will it happen and how bad will it be? Keep in mind, we've been saying that this is a fear of ours, and we've been making it known for the past month. And everybody said, oh, it'll just be a really quick war. We don't have anything to worry about it escalating further. They said that it would be over in a couple weeks, maybe a month. Now they're saying it won't be over until maybe September. So it is going to be a long, protracted war, the very thing that we were afraid of. Then we were like, oh, well, another big fear of ours is putting boots on the ground, because we do not want to have boots on the ground. That's the last thing we want to do. And everybody said, no, that's an irrational fear. You have nothing to worry about. We're not going to put boots on the ground. Donald Trump is way smarter than that. He's not going to repeat the mistakes of our past. Donald Trump is against ground troops being on the ground. And now it appears that Donald Trump is going to put boots on the ground. So these people that are making excuses for him, telling us that he's playing 5D chess and telling us that he's way too smart to fall into the same traps of our past, these people are, well, they should be irrelevant. They should have zero credibility, because everything they said wasn't going to happen. Ben Shapiro, Glenn Beck, all them people, everything they said wouldn't happen, it appears is happening. And the people who were concerned about it in the first place are proven to be right. So it's going to happen. It's just the question is, how bad is it going to be? Anyways, thank you for watching. I'm Nolan. This is Know Nothing.